Someone is here, someone very important. And we want to become aware of the one who is here. The one who is here is aware of many things, but very rarely is he aware of himself. So now allow yourself to return from all forms of awareness. All forms of awareness are a form of action. Awareness is the action of the spirit. And now we're returning, moving away from action and returning to silence. So allow your awareness to come back to silence, because in silence you'll find someone very important. You can meet the one who has been responsible for every single experience you ever had. When that someone was creating your experience, he wasn't always conscious who he is creating for. Most of the time, the creation of the experience was happening as a reaction to something else, not directly related to the one that was creating the experience. But now, we're coming back, becoming aware, and reminding the one who is creating the experience who is creating the experience for. The more we remember, the more the one who is creating the experience knows who is creating the experience for, the more he chooses what he creates in a suitable way. The more the experiences that he creates are meaningful to the one they're being created for. Because the external stimuli, the events, the circumstances, they're only the base upon which the experience is going to be built. But the experience itself is unique. Every individual creates for themselves. Individuals in similar or even identical circumstances will create extremely different experiences for themselves and for those in their environment. So there's a lot of choice, there's a lot of leeway in how we create these experiences. Most of this leeway gets filled up by biology, meaning even though theoretically we have a choice, practically our biology might force us in a certain direction, eliminating some of our choices. So if we've trained our biology to be a certain way, then it can be sometimes difficult to change those habits that have become ingrained in the balance of our chemicals. So those can be changed, those realizations, those beliefs, those ways of behaving can be accessed over a period of time. But there's also a portion of this choice, the choice that we have where we create our experience, that remains available. Even within our biology is just additional facts, additional parts of the base upon which we're going to create an experience. And so there is still infinite potentials of how we can manifest an experience even with the same circumstances and the same biology. It's not infinite times infinite, and yet it's infinite, meaning there are certain things that we cannot do, and yet we still have an infinite number of options. The more the one creating the experience realizes who he is creating for, the more access he's going to have to his potentials. The more access he's going to have to changing his biology. Changing biology means changing habits that have been ingrained in biology. Changing biology can also mean developing, evolving the organs so that they can do things that previously would be for us impossible. And then with the improved organs, we have new layers of infinite possibility that become available to us. And so human potential is infinite times infinite. It's infinite because of the power that we have as spirits, and it's multiplied by the infinite because of the fact that we are ingrained in matter. And so the options that we have in our current state of biological evolution are nothing compared to the options that could be available to us if we develop the organism in the accurate way. These potentials, the nature of potential, is the nature of the spiritual. We call it potential here on earth, but the spiritual nature of it is light. Potential is light that we can have access to while we're still embodied. Light is life, the life force itself. So every form of life that we can have access to while we're embodied is part of our potential. We call it potential on this planet because on this planet we might manifest it into a physical reality or we might not. But in the spiritual world, it's not a potential, it's the reality of who you are, it's your identity. You have access to all these forces. This is not a potential, this is the truth of your spirit. While you're in the body, you have it as a potential. Will you gain access to your spiritual power while you're in the body, or will you forget your power and therefore the potential will not manifest? And so what we call in this world potential is, in the spiritual world, in the real world, is the nature of who you are. You don't have potential in this world if you don't have it within your spiritual nature to be a certain way. You only have the potential to be what you already are, but now can you download it into the physical? And so all your potential you are. And this is the source of the reward and the punishment when you realize how you access that potential and how much of that potential you accessed. How much did you remember yourself while you were embodied, and how much did you forget? So returning to realizing the One who's here with you, always with you, was always with you. Not only was He there, He was creating your experience. He was intimately involved with you. He was so involved with you, you didn't see yourself, you only saw Him. You only saw His creation. You didn't see your perception, you only saw what was being perceived. What was being perceived was the creation of this One, the One that's with you here now, listening to my words. And so now, as you're becoming aware of this One and the experience that He's creating for the one that's perceiving, which essentially is the same One, coming through different biological organisms, different organs, different paths of awareness, but nevertheless, all of them the same One, the same life force, dressing up in all these forces, creating for itself an experience. So as you become aware, you're coming closer to your potential. What is your potential? Your actual spiritual reality. The One is always in that actuality. The experience is flowing from that actuality, but going through many different levels of filters. So the full potential is not visible. The full potential is the beginning of the process, and then it goes through this process where it becomes what it is right now for you. This process is a biological process. It's a process that takes an undefined life force, an infinite spiritual power, and it runs it through all these different tubes and channels, cells and organs, until it becomes the experience you're having now. And so the One is the potential. The potential is actually who you are. And the experience is flowing from who you are, trying to discover who you are, trying to reveal to itself who is creating an experience for who. Bring all of you to that One. Become aware of the invisible One that's always there. Cannot be imagined. That's why it's so tricky. That's why everybody misses Him. And yet, even though He can't be imagined, anything that's imagined is only imagined by Him and through Him and for Him. He is the beginning of every imagination and also the experiencer. He is the reason why it's imagining, and He is the cause of everything that's making it try to escape from its own imagination. Everything good and everything difficult within the imagination is for the same source, for the same cause. It's the same One. It's the same organism trying to reveal and protect itself at the same time. When that One is no longer afraid of himself, then peace remains.